Hello, my name is Marianne Nazaro. I'm the director of the Moving to Work demonstration, and with me today is Ebony Gales, Senior Housing Innovations Specialist in the Moving to Work office. And we are here today to talk with you about the Moving to Work expansion, and more specifically to provide detailed information about the selection notice for the first cohort of MTW agencies. Before I get started, I just want to ask you to take a look at the other webcasts that we had developed relating to overall what is MTW, what is the MTW expansion. You'll find a lot of really good information in that webcast. And today I'm just going to provide a brief snapshot, high level, of what is Moving to Work in the expansion, but I encourage you to take a look at that other webcast for more detailed information. So what is Moving to Work? Moving to Work is a great tool for housing authorities that provides them the option to develop local solutions for the communities and residents that they serve. MTW agencies are able to design and test specific policy changes to better administer the housing assistance in their communities in a more cost-effective way. MTW allows public housing authorities the ability to have exemptions from certain public housing and voucher requirements, and also enables them to use their public housing and voucher funds flexibly. MTW was initially established in the 1996 Appropriations Act. And initially, Congress enabled HUD to select 30 MTW agencies, and over the years, additional agencies have been added, and some have dropped off. So currently there are 39 selected MTW agencies. These MTW agencies represent both small and large housing authorities in both urban and rural communities. In 2017, these housing authorities received over $4 billion of federal housing assistance. This represents over 17% of the public housing and voucher funding overall, and these MTW agencies represent about 14% of the nation's public housing stock. So again, currently there are about 39 MTW agencies representing 14% of the overall housing stock, and some of our larger agencies are MTW such as Chicago and Philadelphia and Atlanta, which helps to understand why they represent such a high percentage of the housing stock. The 1996 Appropriations Act identified 3 MTW statutory objectives that MTW agencies should try to achieve: cost effectiveness, self-sufficiency, and housing choice. Cost effectiveness, MTW agencies can look to reduce cost and achieve greater cost effectiveness in federal expenditures. Self-sufficiency, to give incentives to families to find employment and become self-sufficient. And finally, housing choice, to increase housing choices for low-income families. And by increasing housing choices, this could be either by increasing and improving the housing stock in a specific location, or to help provide opportunities for families to move to higher opportunity areas. In the 2016 Appropriations Act, Congress authorized HUD to add 100 additional agencies to the Moving to Work demonstration. Congress gave us 7 years to designate these additional 100 agencies. The act requires HUD to bring on the new agencies in cohorts, and each cohort will study something different. And Congress required HUD to consult with a research advisory committee to provide advice to HUD on what specific policy changes we should evaluate with the expansion and how to evaluate them. And again, for more information on the MTW expansion, on the MTW Research Advisory Committee, please take a look at HUD's website and also check out the MTW expansion webcast. This slide provides an overview of the 4 policy recommendations that the committee recommended that HUD evaluate through the MTW expansion. Those policy changes would be MTW flexibility, rent reform, work requirements, and landlord incentives. And so what we will be talking about today is more specifically Cohort 1 MTW flexibility. In a moment, I'll turn it over to Ebony, who will go through the detail of the selection notice for the first cohort. But just as a high level, through this initial cohort, we will select 30 housing authorities to come to MTW. Those agencies will be able to implement all of the MTW flexibilities, and we will compare kind of outcomes of those 30 agencies with the agencies that are not selected as MTW. And so with that, I'd like to turn it over to Ebony, who will talk more specifically about the selection notice for the first cohort. Ebony?
Thank you, Marianne. So as Marianne mentioned, Cohort 1 will evaluate the overall effects of MTW flexibility on PHAs and its residents. This cohort is going to address agencies that have 1,000 or fewer aggregate public housing and HCV units. And then there will be some other eligibility requirements that I'll go over later in this webcast. These 100 units can be either public housing units, voucher units, or a combination of the two. So there is no requirement of what the mix is, only that there are 1,000 or fewer aggregate units that the PHA has. And so the competition for Cohort 1 will take place in 2 steps, and we'll go over each of the steps. The first step will be agencies submitting a letter of interest to HUD. So this letter of interest package includes first a letter of interest stating the desire to become or to obtain MTW designation. The letter should be no more than 2 pages, so just a brief summary of your interest in MTW and desire to obtain designation, signed by the executive director. Next, the package must also include a board resolution approving the PHA's desire to obtain MTW designation. And so there's no specific format for the board resolution, but the board resolution must show that your board is in agreement with your desire to obtain MTW designation. Finally, a certificate of commitment to participate in the first cohort of the evaluation must also be included in the step 1. The certificate to commit is available as an attachment to the Cohort 1 selection notice. It's also available on the MTW website. So, and that certificate must be in the format that is included in the notice and signed and completed as detailed in the selection notice. So those are the 3 main elements for the letter of interest package that will be submitted to HUD. In addition to the letter of interest package, the agency must complete an online baseline survey. So you can see a link in the screen to the survey. It's also available in the notice. So the baseline research survey itself must be completed by January 11th, 2019, as well as HUD will not use any of the answers in the baseline research survey to weigh in on the application process at all. The purpose of the baseline research survey is background information for the Cohort 1 evaluation. So you won't be scored or ranked or anything based upon your survey results. So next, I'm going to move on from the letter of interest package and talk about HUD's eligibility review. The majority of the eligibility review will be conducted at HUD, and it's going to be conducted based upon information that HUD already has, so in HUD systems. So we can divide the eligibility criteria into 3 different categories. The first is a list of statutory eligibility requirements. So first you can see the administration of 1,000 or fewer aggregate public housing and HCV units, which will be verified by HUD. And it's important to note that these statutory eligibility requirements are derived from the 2016 Appropriations Act. The next eligibility review requirement is that the PHA be designated as a high performer under the Public Housing Assistance System or under the Section 8 Management Assessment Program. And that high performer status will be verified by HUD. So an agency must be either a high performer in FOS or CMAP. The agency does not need to be a high performer in both systems. And the final statutory eligibility requirement that HUD will check is that the PHA is, the applicant is a public housing agency. And so all these statutory eligibility requirements must be met by January 11th, 2019. So if you have not met these by then, you would not be eligible, but you still have time. So the next category of eligibility requirements are those that are additional eligibility requirements that HUD will be verifying through HUD systems. So again, this verification takes place as of January 11th, 2019. So if there are any categories that your agency might not meet at this time, you still have until January 11th, 2019 to correct those. If you haven't submitted your most recent PHA plan, or if your PIC is not up to date, you have until January 11th to take care of those issues and to get your PHA eligible for the Cohort 1 selection notice. So I'll go over the eligibility criteria in this category. First is that a PHA is not troubled under FOS or CMAP. Second is that the PHA submitted the baseline research survey, which we spoke about earlier. And there's no additional information, again, that you need to submit outside of the baseline research survey just to complete the survey. And once you have completed the survey, you will receive a confirmation that at the end of the survey that the survey has been completed. And so we encourage you to retain that a screenshot of the completion, and also retain the email for your records, so that you know, should something happen, you have a record that you have completed the baseline research survey. And another eligibility requirement is that the PHA has a reporting rate and PIC of at least 90% of households in the public housing and HCV program. And fourth is that the PHA is up to date with all required submissions into the Voucher Management System, or VMS. The fifth eligibility requirement is that the PHA submitted all required submissions for the preceding 3 fiscal years into the Financial Assessment Subsystem, the Financial Data Schedule, FDS. Sixth is that the PHA submitted its most recent PHA plan that was due to HUD. Seventh is that there are no unaddressed findings from the Inspector General or any other types of reviews that you see listed here. Eighth, if the PHA administers a public housing program, that those obligation and expenditure deadlines required by the capital program have been met for the last 3 years. And finally, if an outstanding payment or repayment agreement with HUD is in place, that the PHA has made payments according to that agreement or has come into compliance with that agreement. And so all of this information is available in the selection notice itself. But we also, in our Cohort 1 selection notice website, have an eligibility checklist that you can use. It's in a spreadsheet, so you can look to make sure that your agency is in compliance with all these eligibility requirements that I have listed. And you can fill out the spreadsheet. And once you've filled out the spreadsheet, it lets you know whether or not you're eligible for Cohort 1. And again, if there is something that marks you as ineligible, you have until January 11th, 2019 to fix that so that you may be eligible for Cohort 1. So the final category of eligibility requirements are those that HUD will verify from the information that the PHA submits and the letter of interest package, and this will be extracted from the information that you provide us. So this includes the letter of interest that is 2 pages and signed by the executive director, indicating the agency's desire to obtain MTW designation, the board resolution, and as we stated, there's no specific format to the board resolution, but it must say that the board supports the agency's desire to obtain MTW designation. And the agency's intent to comply with both the MTW objectives and statutory requirements in the MTW operations notice. And then finally, that the PHA, we are going to check to make sure that the PHA has submitted their certification of the PHA's commitment to participate in HUD-sponsored evaluations. And this form is found in Attachment A of the selection notice and must be filed and completed as directed by the notice. Now, the commitment to participate in the HUD-sponsored evaluation is for all groups, whether you received MTW designation or not. It's not HUD's intention to overly burden any of the groups with information request or collection, but if you are in the control group, it's possible that the evaluator may come to you at some point, but our intention is to gather most of the data through HUD systems so that we do not burden any of the agencies that are in the control group. So here you can see the geographic categories in the HUD regions that they represent. First is the Northeast, which consists of HUD regions 1, 2, and 3. Next is the Southeast, and that's region 4. The Midwest is region 5. The Southwest is region 6 and 7. The West is regions 8, 9, and 10. And so if you are unsure which region your agency falls into, there's a link in the screen to a map. And so you can follow that link and determine what region your agency falls in. And so in the Cohort 1 selection notice, you'll see that we are trying to achieve geographic diversity, and we've listed the target number of eligible PHAs in each of these HUD of these geographic areas. So for the Northeast, we are targeting, or we are hoping to select 5 PHAs. In the Southeast, we are hoping to select 7 PHAs. In the Midwest, 5 PHAs. Southwest, 10 PHAs. In the West, 3 PHAs. And that will make up our group of 30 PHAs for Cohort 1. So once the eligible interested PHAs are in place in those 5 categories, we'll conduct a lottery to randomly assign those PHAs into one of the 3 treatment groups. So the first is the treatment group, and that is the group of agencies that will receive MTW designation. For example, in the Northeast, there will be 5 PHAs selected from the treatment group, and then 3 additional PHAs from the Northeast will be placed in a waitlist group. So those PHAs in the waitlist group will either move into the treatment group as PHAs in that category no longer have an interest in joining MTW, or they will fall down into the control groups depending upon the situation. So all the remaining PHAs after that will be in the control group. So there are 3 groups of agencies again. So the treatment group, those are agencies that have been selected for MTW. PHAs in the waitlist group, and those PHAs will either be moved into the treatment group if a PHA in that group does not successfully complete an MTW plan or application, or if one of the treatment group agencies decides that they no longer want MTW to participate in MTW. And then third, PHAs in the control group. And so the control group PHAs are those that will not receive MTW status under Cohort 1, but the control group PHAs are not prohibited from applying to another MTW cohort. So step 2 of the selection notice, it occurs after the letter of interest package has been submitted. And this is where all of the treatment group PHAs are going to move after they've been assigned and notified by HUD that they are in the treatment group. So agencies will be invited to move to step 2 once the final publication of the MTW operations notice occurs. So step 2 is very simple. It has 2 main components, as you can see: the public process requirement and the MTW plan and application requirement. And I'll go over each of those steps. There are 5 components to the public process. that agencies must follow under the second step, and I'll go over each one of those 5 components. So first, the PHA must notify its public housing residents and or the HCV participants, as applicable, to your inventory of your participation in the MTW demonstration program. So an agency must let its residents know of its intent to participate in the MTW demonstration program. There's no specific format to this notification, just that residents are notified that this is on the horizon for your agency, and that this is going to be done in advance of developing the MTW plan so that your residents are aware of what's happening. So next, after that notification, the PHA must hold at least 2 resident meetings, and that's going to be separate from the public hearing. So with these meetings, we really want you to get your community's feedback on what an MTW program might look like for your local community, and to incorporate the feedback that you're getting from your residents and incorporate the feedback that you would get from your community in the development of your MTW plan. And so the idea is that these 2 residents meetings would really inform the development of your local MTW program. After these 2 residents meetings are held, then the agency would move into the formal public hearing and public process. So for that, it's necessary that you publish a notice that a hearing will be held on MTW, and the draft plan must be available at that time and available for the public for 30 days. Once your notice is published, your plan should be finished, and it should be available on your website, at your agency, and so just available for the public to look at, and it should be available for a 30-day period. There, you will discuss, at the public hearing, you will discuss the MTW plan and invite further public comment from different residents and stakeholders in your community. After the public hearing, your board will act on the MTW plan and application itself. And here again is another board resolution, and it must be signed and dated no less than 15 days after the public hearing. And the reason for that is so that you have time to incorporate the feedback and to really consider the public comments that you have received in your final MTW plan that is submitted to HUD. Again, there's no specific format for the board approval, just that it was signed by the board and indicated that the public hearing occurred and that the board is on board with the MTW plan. So for the MTW plan and application, there are 2 parts, and I'll go over each part. So first up, part 1, is that the MTW plan is no more than 10 pages and also includes page numbers. So this is very simple. It's gonna look like there are a lot of components, but it's really simple, and it's only 10 pages. So for the information on spacing and margins and anything like that, we have that in the notice. But the main thing is that that is 10 pages, and those 10 pages must be numbered. The MTW plan has a narrative section, and so we're not looking for a fully developed MTW program or specific activities or anything like that. What we're looking for is narrative information on what your agency's intentions are for MTW designation and what your plans are in implementing your local MTW program. So there are 6 categories within the MTW plan that must be addressed, and I'll go over each of those 6 categories. It's at the agency's discretion how much space to give to each of these different categories, but they are the vision for the PHA's local MTW program, the plan for future community engagement, plan for inventory information, plan to the local MTW program, and you'll talk more about what kinds of initiatives you might be interested in doing and how you might further the 3 statutory objectives of cost effectiveness, self-sufficiency, and housing choice that Mary Ann discussed earlier. And your proposed use of MTW funds, so whether you plan to use the funds flexibly across the program, and any specific dates and milestones that you have put in place for your plan or activities. So those are the information or the categories that we're looking for you to complete in the MTW plan. And again, it's to your discretion how much information you want to include in each one of those, but the entire plan must be no more than 10 pages. So part 2 of the MTW plan and application process is just standard forms that your agency would need to complete, and you can see what those forms are here. Appendix 4 is voluntary, but should you decide to do Appendix 4, we ask that it be no more than 10 pages and that it's numbered. So for Appendix 1, that's the Moving to Work Certification of Compliance, and that's found in Attachment 2 of the selection notice, and it should be completed and signed as directed in the selection notice. Appendix 2 is a public process document, and so those are the 5 elements we went over earlier about the public hearing and the public meetings, and all of that should be contained in Appendix 2. And including evidence that those requirements were met. So that could be a website showing that the MTW plan was available, notice that you sent out of your hearing, meeting minutes from the resident meetings or sign-in sheets. So those are the types of things that we're looking for in Appendix 2. And it's really up to the agency's discretion as to what those documents are, but we've given you a few examples of what those documents could be. So Appendix 3 is the required standard form. So those are the certification of consistency with your consolidated plan, the disclosure of lobbying activities, and certification of payments. And all of these standard forms are to be submitted as part of Appendix 3. And as I stated before, Appendix 4 just gives you the opportunity to provide any additional information. So again, these documents, should you submit them, should be no more than 10 pages and need to be numbered. We've developed a Cohort 1 website that contains many resources that your agency can look to as you're deciding to apply for Cohort 1 or as you're going through your application process. If you go to www.hud.gov/MTW, there's a link to the competition website. And again, this website contains everything you need for the full application process. So that's both steps 1 and step 2 that we went over today, the PIH notice. And if you have not already, please read through the PIH notice, the request for letters of interest, and this is PIH notice 2018-17, which contains all the information that we've gone over today, but also in a little bit more detail. We also have a frequently asked questions document that is on the Cohort 1 website, and this is updated frequently. So if after reviewing this website you have any questions, please send those to us, and we will update the FAQ document as necessary. So we encourage you, because we are often updating the FAQ document, we encourage you to check back on the website to see what additional questions have been added. And there, as I talked about earlier, there's a Microsoft Excel spreadsheet that you can use to check whether or not your agency is eligible. So if you haven't had a chance to, we encourage you to look at that. And then there's also the link to all the attachments and standard forms that we've discussed earlier today that you can look at to see what forms need to be completed and any other attachments that we have related to the MTW expansion. And so now I'm going to turn it over to Marianne to close us out.
Great. Thanks, Ebony. So Ebony provided a lot of detail on kind of getting into the weeds on the selection notice for Cohort 1. And so thanks for that great information. And you can find all that information both in the selection notice and on our website. What I'd like to do is just bring it back up to the 10,000 foot level for a moment. And just in this selection notice for the initial cohort, we really focused on simplifying the application process through this two-step process. First part, by January 11th, submit your board resolution, your letter of interest, submit that baseline survey. Well, once we run the lottery, we'll invite 30 agencies to apply, and then at that point, you want to go through your extensive public process and develop the MTW plan. And while we've simplified a lot with the application process, one thing we have not simplified is that resident and public engagement process that's really important for your MTW application. We really encourage interested MTW agencies to work with their communities and residents and stakeholders to figure out kind of what is the vision for your community so that together you can figure out how best to move forward as an agency and as a community. And finally, as we talked about today and through our other webcasts, MTW is a really great tool for public housing authorities and for communities to figure out how to address their local communities and how to develop solutions for their local communities. So we really encourage you to take a look at our website, take a look at the selection notice, and to really consider applying. If you have any questions at all, you can contact here on the address on this screen at mtw-info@hud.gov. We will be responding to every question that we receive on that through that email in an FAQ so that everybody can see the answers to all of the questions that were asked. So with that, thank you for your time today. We look forward to receiving your applications and we look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.